irony. It's very interesting. So there's all these wonderful people all posting out with all their channel stuff and what they're experiencing. But you can't be in all of these places at once. However, there is a funny thing because we're all connected. And so, not really, truly, really, really funny, you know? Weird, and very, very strange. We're all thinking the same stuff all at once. It's so weird. I came across a Freedom Grower. You know, anyone know Freedom Grower? Darned, he can play some mean guitar. Go listen to Freedom Grower, man. Boom. There's so many people out there that they're giving back so much. Now, now, he's got family, lady. So this is not about creepiness whatsoever. However, it is about the true connection. There is a true connection that is happening and it's becoming stronger. The strength is in our spirit. I'm not afraid to say anymore because I have nothing to lose. Sorry, I'm fumbling with a bit of card here. My visage is not important. What is important is that we remember that we are of a greater family, good folks. So, something I want to wish upon everyone is there is a great thing happening here right now. I mean, literally. Spiritually, physically, in every aspect you can imagine. And give me a break. It's Friday night, you know. I'm supposed to relax and be a good girl. Well, no, I was listening to what's her name? Valerie Bart. Now, she's a player. She can play guitar and she can sing. I love people like that. I promote true spirit. So I respect all of these beautiful people. However, I'm also a beautiful people. If that makes sense. I'm an old girl. Oh, look, you saw my little bit of paper. Isn't that interesting? YouTube has become a little bit nonsensical. Unless you're very clever with your delivery. I'm not that clever. However, there are things that I will bring to the table. And what I bring is honesty. I've read a lot and I've taken care of a lot of people. So remember, we must build a bigger community. And don't be afraid to speak from your heart, because that is where truth is existent. Here. Hey, machine. Good to see you. Right. Have you got some feedback for me? Because do you think I'm right or am I wrong? Tell me. Because what I've seen in the world, obviously, yeah, well, and you too, peace. So, what's that song? Peace in the city, peace in the valley, and peace beyond. Right? So, we need to look at our world, right? And because it's not the shape. They're all going on about, oh, it's this and it's that and it's flat and it's round. Well, I think you already know. It's a big potato, isn't it? Because have a look at a potato. So, I know this sounds really daft. Have a look. Put a potato on the counter. I'm really serious about this. Put a potato on the counter and watch. What happens on a potato is it grows little tiny trees. Yes, potato, potato. Exactly. But it grows these tiny little trees on the potato. So, I mean, who's to say we're not living on a huge potato? Think about it. Because I've done this for years. I've listened to people, and I love the concept of the flat and the round and all that stuff. But to me, it looks like a big potato machine. And anyone that cares to listen. And you know what? Those potatoes that have little sprouty little bits on them, you can eat all that. Cook it whole. Don't peel your potatoes. Because you know what you're doing? You're taking away your world. You're taking away an aspect of your world. Go and slice through a potato. I've always wanted to talk about potatoes. I'm so sorry, but it's kind of funny. So, if you slice through a potato and you look at the layers from the skin, there are, and if you actually research what a potato gives you, there are nutrients in the upper layers. So it's almost like the atmosphere, the troposphere, and all that stuff in a world. This is why I say our world is a potato. So I'm not actually making fun. This is going from quite a scientific perspective, actually, if you look at it on the whole. So don't peel your potatoes. Slice it through the middle, or, whatever. Who knows? Just cut through the potato and then look at the layers in your potato, and you will find, if you research this, because I have researched this, I've looked at this really, really carefully, and in every layer of the potato, there are different things going on. They're really good for your body, by the way. So, if you're not, and you can use them as poultices on your skin as well. So if you have like damage on your skin, you can cook a potato. Don't overcook it, but don't take the peel off. And then what you do is you mush it a little bit. You know what I mean? And you don't make it go cold. You have it a little bit warm, and then you can put that onto. You can have a spot or anything like that. Everyone gets spots. Everybody pees, shits. Do you know what I mean? Sweats, tells lies, all that shit. However, potatoes are known for their healing properties. Salt and honey as well. Simplifying here. If you've got a thing going on your skin, You can cook your potato to a gentle mushiness, not too much. And then you, with skin on, and then you mush it up, make it go sort of warm so it's not too hot, and then you put that on your skin. I promise you. Honey as well. Honey, salt, potatoes. Oh man, nature has the best healing properties, right? Oh, and I must go into Rudolf Steiner because that's where I learned most things from. Rudolf Steiner taught me gardening, how to connect with nature. You know, as a little girl, I'm a little girl. I'm still a little girl. You know what? I didn't get very tall, but Rudolf Steiner did something amazing. And what he did was he brought back natural farming. And I'm going to keep talking about this guy because friggin' amazing dude, man. I mean, woman as well. Because we are, you know, in a physical sense. But the spirit is pure consciousness. We are all pure consciousness. But when we come to a world where physicality is like the essential thing, and that's what we're all going through in it, Steiner really put it in the best way. You know, he showed me as a small girl, I learned to sharpen a knife. You know, did you ever learn to sharpen a knife as like a 7-year-old? I hope you did, because when you know how to sharpen your knife, then you know how to live your life. Do you get me? Yes or no? It's okay. I don't need an answer because I already know. I learnt to hone clay. So he taught me how to go and find clay in the earth. He taught me that in the winter you can do a lot of wonderful things when water freezes. And in the summer, there's lots of amazing things that grow from that freeze. You know, I used to eat fresh mint from a river where I lived in my village in Germany. It was called Ottersberg. So, if you ever want to eat the best mint that you can find, you go near rivers. Go near the rivers for the best food you're ever going to find. If you want to be a vegan, I'm not a vegan, but if you want to be a vegan, go along the rivers, okay? And stay away from cities because they're pretty dirty. We know that already. But if you're not a vegan, then you must eat. You want to be a vegetarian, eat from the animals that have lived naturally off the land. And if you want to grow your food, then learn the plants. No monocrop. It must be a multi-crop. So many different plants. And for that, you need to know what you grow around, what you seed around each other. Makes sense. It's very important. And there's a lot of, I want to give a shout out to Linda Wolf and Mary from the homesteading. She's wonderful. They're both wonderful. I love them both. There's a lot of beautiful people I've met here. I'm not afraid to speak out. But so, when you look at the hemisphere that you are living in, I mean, who knows what shape this is. But so, I actually have a book which I bought after I learned from Steiner. And it's a Botany in a Day. And I've actually got 2 copies, but it seems to be more and more expensive. So they don't want you to know. Yes. Yes, exactly. See, Machine Lies knows. Right. Yes, he was a genius. And he brought so much. Oh my God. What he taught me was just phenomenal. Just when you're a little girl and you're with, I was a little one and I was with other little ones, and we were learning to knit, to work with metal, stone, wood. Oh, really? That's interesting. Fascinating. He was at Nietzsche's deathbed. That's very interesting. Well, this is really good. See, this is the kind of feedback I need, because what he taught me has, I don't know why, but it has brought me through some really strange stuff. I'm going through some weird shit, with lawyers and actually deathbeds. Machine. You know what I mean? You know my story, I think, because I've spoken on your panels briefly. But this is what we need to pass on to others, and it's not really about age. It's about building. So, and this is what Steiner taught me. Literally, this is what he taught me. And I can only express what my experience was, because I can't obviously say from another one's perspective. But I mean, we had to. So we were making socks. We had to learn to knit, and we're talking girls and boys here. Like, so, it wasn't transgender, nothing like that. But it was like you need to connect with nature to realize your creativity. Yes. Awesome, man. Absolutely. Machine, you rock. I love your stuff, by the way. Your shows hugely rock my world. Yeah, really total good stuff. But this is what I've experienced through my. Yes, absolutely. And this is what he said. But it wasn't just to connect with nature, it was to realize that we are nature. So we are nature, and we are creative with nature. And it's I don't like the term understanding. So it's the comprehension of the balance, and that there's it's like a vibration that you have. So I remember I was in Berlin at school, in a Steiner school, and my sister and my cousin, they were there as well. I was 6 years younger than them, but we had animals, in the garden. Yes, absolutely, Machine. Absolutely. And this was the thing. So we had animals, and we had a growing garden in Berlin. Oh, and by the way, Berlin has forests in the city and lakes, and I used to skate there. It was fantastic. I mean, you gotta go there. You've got to go and at least see it once. You know what I mean? And swim in the Rhine. It's a little bit further down, Bavaria. I'm a German bitch. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I'm not a white supremacist. I am of mixed descent, but I have strong Huguenot and German connections. Make sense? So on my father's side, I have Huguenot connection. On my mother's side, I have German connection. Very, very strong people. I mean, they are fascinating families. A lot of fighting. A lot of fighting. But do you know what that does? It teaches you to learn. And we all know that life is a learning journey, innit? Anyway, let's go back to Steiner, because the gardens, they were so exquisite in the school in Berlin. Oh my God. So, but Berlin is fascinating. But where my school was, it's probably still there. We had rabbits and all sorts of little creatures, but then we had a garden. And so there's a really, really simple thing that I was taught as a child. And this will apply all across the Northern Hemisphere. Mustard plant will keep the pests away from what you're growing. But also that you must grow more than one crop in a group. So learn what plants grow well together, and then learn what plants, and these are all usable. You know, I mean, none of this stuff is in the supermarket. We know this. The best food is in your backyard, that most people call weeds. They're not weeds. They're all sustainable edibles, right? Literally, none of it is a weed. It is food. Research. This is why I tell you, Botany in a Day, Northern Hemisphere. Great book. I can't send everyone a copy, but it's a brilliant book. And it's, if you get it's a big paperback, so you can roll it up, put it in your backpack. You don't, and I think it also goes into mycelium, because I'm an avid researcher of mushrooms. Now, here's a little thing. We are actually closer related to the mycelium than the monkey. Anybody know that? No. Well, it's okay, because we're all learning together. Life is a schoolroom. Our brain is of mycelium. You don't have to believe me, that's fine. I've done a lot of reading, and yeah, it's kind of tiring when you get old, but so I want to share whatever I know before I go. You know what I'm saying? It's not depressing, it's sharing gnosis. You know? Gnosis. Yes. Yes, absolutely. See, machine knows. Right. So if you look at root systems, when you do any gardening and you pull up your plants, you are going to find this white webbing in the soil. Now, what that white webbing is, like Machine said, it is the connection. There is a conversation going on between the plants within the soil. I did a lot of gardening for a living, And it wasn't fun because these people were like rich, and yeah, they didn't actually care about the land, and they were equestrian, and yeah. And she liked to take the jibby jabbies a lot as well. Hilarious. Do you know what? You're gonna laugh. I did some weeding for her, right? Well, a lot of weeding. And I comprehend. So if you want to remove a plant from your land, you have to find the tap root. The tap root. Now, all good plants have a really deep root. It goes really, really deep into the soil. So if you've got a cobbled yard and all that, well, good luck finding that taproot. It's really hard work. So I used to clean her house, and when COVID came in, she wouldn't let me come in to clean. And I really cleaned her house. I was a housekeeper. I worked bloody hard for her. She was a bitch. She even, do you know what she did to one of her sons? He had to go and sleep in the caravan because he used the PCR test. Well, you can't come and sleep with our family now. Go and sleep in the caravan by yourself. He's the eldest son. Nasty. You don't do that to your children. That's separation. I haven't been near them for a long time, but this is what rich people do, like they are disconnected from spirit completely. They're away with a freaking, don't know what that is, the Borg. Oh yeah. Anyway, so I was doing weeding in her yard, going back to the weeding. Do you know what she did? She came out to me, and I'm like weeding her yard between the stones. She came out and said to me, "You can't do that like some little Indian." I'm sorry. She literally said to me, "You cannot do that like some little Indian." Fuck. I'd already cleared a lot of her yard, man. This bitch, fucking bitch, excuse my French, nasty, nasty. I do not know what she did to her children, but very disturbing. And this is what the rich people do. They do not care what the spirit is. But what they don't realize is that we know more about them than they do about us. So, educate all that you can, because we don't die, and you already know my thoughts on death and all that stuff. There is no such thing, right? What we do, we change our form. But before we do such, we must share whatever gnosis we have. And so anyone that has ever educated me, I am so thankful and grateful. I appreciate you so much. I can't go on all night though, can I? Now we've done nearly half an hour. Do you know what? I appreciate that you're actually listening to me, because this is so important. And remember, go and have a look at what Steiner was talking about. I've got beeswax in colours that we used to make angels and animals out of this stuff. And I am an artist, and a piss artist sometimes. But, so, we're talking the term Kunst, not Kant, Kunst. Kunst is art. It's craft. So to be a crafter, this is what Steiner taught me, is you must be a crafter with everything you find. Everything. Any material. You can And William Morris, actually, I have to say this. So, William Morris, freaking brilliant guy, man. He actually inspired the dude that wrote Lord of the Rings. That's where Tolkien got all his inspiration from, was William Morris, because he wrote a book, right? He was the original fairy teller of, that time. It was, what was it? It was the garden at the end of the woods. But he also made extremely beautiful textiles. And I have some. I have some in my home. And what he said was, this is William Morris's quote: "Only have in your home what is beautiful and useful." And so, I learned a lot from these dudes, and my mother and my father, because my mother was a brilliant cook. My mother could cook. Oh my god, she could make a literally a feast from nothing, and tasted so good. And she used to feed like my friends when I was a kid. Just bring them in. Yeah, we're gonna cook. Big nosh for everyone. And my dad, yes, absolutely, machine, totally. My dad was an amazing woodworker. So he was, do you know what I mean? Like the iconic. Sorry, I'm not religious, but kind of the biblical. What do they call that? A woodworker. Come on, machine, help me. It was a carpenter. Right? He could make stuff out of wood. Now, in the house that they're stealing from me, the half sister, there are curtain fittings, right? So when I say curtain fittings, we're not talking plastic here. So my parents would sit together and they would cut wood into these beautiful shapes that you could put a beautiful wooden pole across. But they would sand it and they would wax or linseed oil it, or no, and they're still in the house now. I mean, I'm actually slightly perspiring thinking about that. Because I was speaking to the lawyers earlier on, and they're like, well, what do you want from the house? And I'm like, well, do you know what? It's my house. I want my house. No, I didn't say that. You know what? I know, isn't it funny, machine? It's just ridiculous. You can't make this shit up. But so they made these amazing. This is what I'm talking about, and this is what Steiner was talking about. When you connect with your nature and the whole of nature, then you can realize your creativity. And I mean, they fought like cats and dogs, but when they weren't fighting, they created some amazing stuff. My mum used to dance flamenco and play the castanets. I've got her castanets here. I've got my dad's guitar. They would hire a little studio somewhere in London. My dad would play Spanish classical guitar, and my mama would dance flamenco and go with the castanets. I mean, come on. How many parents do you know that used to do that? It's freaking brilliant, you know? And this is what Steiner was talking about as well. Is be creative as much as you can and embrace your family, you know? And it doesn't really matter. Okay. So my it doesn't matter about the skin color. So the funny thing is, I'm gonna go in a minute because I just jabber on. But my half sister, who's basically put me through this hell with the stealing of the house, she's got a different father, mind, from the same country as my father, but he was not a Huguenot. But so here's a little thing. In the 60s, and maybe even now, there was a clique, a little bit sad. But, we have to recognize all aspects of life. The Asian men, and that's Sri Lankan and Indian as well, but they were cliques of these men. They really liked the white women. And I have a feeling, I don't know everything, so I can't, don't judge me, but she was passed around, my mum, because my sister was in that family clique, the father. Different father to mine. And he wasn't very nice to my mum. And then she got with my dad 6 years later. And he also wasn't very nice with my mum. But then, they seem to, I don't know what it is with those people. They fought a lot. I mean, it was like decades of fighting. It's ridiculous. Why do people do that? But what they did do, they created a lot of beautiful things. Very artistic. My dad was also a structural engineer. Sorry, I obviously bored someone, so they fucked off. That's fine. However, my dad wasn't just a carpenter. He was a structural engineer for a company called Over Arup. Now, the one thing I do know about Over Arup is that they're a global company. And they are kind of commercial builders. But my mother was completely different. Yeah. I know you're still here, machine. You're a good old trusty. And see, when I come to your stream, I stay and I listen because there's so much to be learned from perspective. It's like time. My mother was different. She was more out there. Actually, she couldn't even smoke weed. It would do her head in. She was not, she was already out there. But she was a really fine artist, I mean, she was one of these amazing seamstresses, and she taught me as a little girl how to stitch fabric. And so I actually went into that industry for a long time, and it's still with me. I can sew. I can make curtains, bedding, cushions, clothing. I can make patterns. I am what do they call that? I'm a tailor or a tailoress because I know how to make, I'm a dressmaker, suit maker. I know how to make a pattern for clothes that will fit your body individually, privately. Okay? I did all that, but I also studied textiles. So I know all about fabrics. When I go and buy something, I look at what it's made out of, right? And here's a little thing. If you want to know whether something is a natural fiber when you buy it, take a little fiber, you just pull a tiny little bit off, take a lighter and burn it. If it goes into a clump, it's synthetic. If it smells like hair, it's natural. Cotton won't smell the same, but it won't clump. So a natural fiber will not go into a clump when it's from the oil industry, polyester, not bamboo fiber is okay. So that's viscose. There are different terminologies for these things. I study this a lot, trust me. I wouldn't lie to you, and I think you're probably bored by now. But you're still listening, aren't you? Right, can I sing you one song? Well, a line of one song. Because I miss that time of year. Alright, here we go. Summertime, and the living is easy. The fish are jumping, and the cotton is high. Your daddy's rich, oh, and your ma is good looking. But hush, little baby, don't you cry. One of these mornings, you're gonna rise up singing. But until that day, we will not know what will happen. Oh, sorry. Okay. Thank you. I love you all. You know that. See you next time. And bless you. Happy solstice.